All right. So this was interesting because I'm sure I think one of you have asked me this thing. I'm not sure if it was the same question. But yesterday this girl had asked me that if there's a folder, so I created a folder with her name and there are workbooks inside it. Multiple files are there. Now she wanted a code that she doesn't have to open each and every workbook or access the folder. The code should access the folder, copy all the worksheets of all the workbook and put it in one single workbook.
Shani, could you repeat it once again?
Sure. So what the code does, so there is a folder and in the folder right now there are 3 files. There could be more number of files. So whatever number of files are there, I want the code to run in such a manner that it is able to access all the files in a specific folder, open the file, copy it in a new workbook and close. So what we are doing, we are consolidating data of 3 sheets into one sheet. This is consolidating different workbooks in one workbook. So each workbook, all sheets are going to be copied in a separate workbook.
I am using one of the macro like that only.
You use one of the macros like that.
Yeah. I don't get it in all the coding and all. Now I will look into that, what exactly is the coding. But I'm using this macro in my day-to-day life.
All right. Just to show you, like book 1 has page 1 and page 2. And this one only has, I think, sheet 1. I'm just going to name it as workbook 2, page 1, so that, and then workbook 3. Right. And now if I run the code, so I had finished this code in the class that day. VBA. Merge workbooks. So initially there would not be all these sheets, right? Oh, I should not delete it. I'm going to leave question 2 because that was also one of our questions. So I'll not destroy, hold on, I'll not destroy this workbook.
Such a small code.
Such a small code, yeah. Big problem, smaller codes.
But when I saw that code was like 3 different sections, like public functions are there. So those
It depends what all you're doing. This is just merging. Nothing else is happening over here.
Okay.
So that might be the case. But yes, it is a small code only. So in this workbook, now that I'm in book 1, and book 1 is the workbook which is active. When I run this code, F5, so it's opening all these workbooks, but you see none of the workbooks is now open. Book 1, book 2, book 3, nothing is open. And if I go to this book 1, where did it add the files now? Oh, right. It's adding over here because in my program, I've used this merge workbooks. So in merge workbooks, what it did, it has added page 1, page 2, workbook 2, page 1, workbook 3, page 1. So it kind of copies and pastes the sheets of all these workbooks and pastes over here. Okay. So if you want, I can share this code with you if you're interested.
Yes.
And you can go through it. Yes.
Yes, please.
Another thing is one more question she had asked, which is not, I don't know why that question was there, but anyways, it was an interview question for her. So what was there? There was like a table, like a product price and quantity. And if you put any product and you're saying, I'm looking for price, that price should pop up. Or if I say I'm looking for quantity, then the quantity should pop up. So this also she wanted through VBA. So this workbook that I'll send to you, or I'll upload it in the LMS, has both the things. Okay, question number 2 and this one. So you will see in the backend, there are two codes.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank
so just to explain you what you're going to look at, I thought I'll explain the question too also. All right, let's get started with our work.
There is a command button in that Excel. I think there is a coding for that, right?
No, actually, the best part isn't the coding for that.
I-
So what
okay,
I
there's I think inbuilt some
it's
function
like,
is there.
I'll just show you very quickly what I had done was.
Okay.
So in the developer tab, which you may or may not have, but I'll make you learn these things. Remember, I think yesterday Abhishek had asked this question that, we are doing so many things, but I still don't know how we're going to take it in the front end. Or I've seen, he was telling, I've seen tools in
Yes,
which
I was asking that.
Abhishek was saying that, right?
Yes.
That I've seen tools in which user is giving input and things are happening. So are we getting towards it? So ultimately, that's how you create the front end. You use things like form controls, and the first part of form control is your button. So once
Okay.
you create a button, automatically this list of all the macros that you've written, that you've recorded, those will come up. And you can assign a macro to your button. So that's what I was telling Abhishek yesterday. First thing is we do the backend. Once our backend is done, all these associations is a matter of seconds that we have to do.
Yeah.
Understood.
Okay.
Okay.
So for example, the service provider, I can assign to it. And as and when I click on this button, enter the 10-digit number has come up. Simple. So that's what I did. So this part is actually the easy part.
Okay.
The tough part is what you guys are dealing with right now. All right, let's get started. Let's take up a new concept. And then like I said, I have put more practice sessions for you. So don't worry. Forget this. All right, today's 13th. Now, what we did till last time, we worked with active cells, we worked with offsets. Okay.
Ishani, I have one question.
Yes, please.
So it's regarding the code which we practiced yesterday. So I was just trying to close the workbook by as we mentioned workbooks, then bracket, then name of the workbook, then dot close. So is it possible if we can use the variable we declare as a name?
Yes, we can.
It will work.
Yes, it will.
So that should be on double quotes or just the name of the variable in brackets.
So if you're using the variables never are put in double quotes.
Okay.
Because as soon as you put a variable in a double quote, it works like a text. Okay, so if you're going to use a variable, no double quotes around it.
Okay, I think I tried, but it
Didn't work.
error. No.
Hold on, like I'll show you the command I've given over here. Like the merge workbook. In this command, in this case also, I'm opening and closing workbooks. So the source that I gave, like in our case also, we called it source, right? So source dot close.
Yeah, but we store this, variable and object. I mean, sorry.
So this variable that is there, that is storing an object.
Mhm.
So I don't have to write workbooks and then source dot close. Okay, because source is not the name of that workbook. Source itself is storing the entire workbook. So I'll just say source dot close. It is equivalent to saying workbooks in double quotes, whatever is the name workbook, name of the workbook dot close. Okay. So since I don't know the name of the workbook, like in this case, I did not know what will be the name of the workbook. In our case also, we don't know what is the name of the workbook. So what we did, we saved it in a variable and we said, okay, this variable will store a workbook. So when you say source is not holding a string value, it's holding an object.
Okay. So
Okay.
remember we declare vimport as a variable. Just
This was a string. Yeah, this was a string. Yes, I remember. That was a string.
so we can use that vimport, workbooks bracket vimport dot close. That work?
But that I will tell you why you were getting an error, because we import that you were using as a string that also consists of the path.
Okay.
And when
Yeah.
you are closing or activating, and if you give a path, then it throws an error at you.
Yeah, right.
That's the reason. Right?
Okay.
All right. Any other questions before we move on?
Thank you, Shani.
You're welcome.
And this code you
Mhm.
designed, the folder that the code is searching in can have multiple workbook. That is a dynamic count, right?
Yes.
Can
Yes.
have 2 workbook. It can have 15 workbook.
Yes, absolutely. So I worked on one of the projects for my client where they were doing performance analysis. So as a part of performance analysis, not going to show you the code for that, but
Shani, if we want to input, like refresh or something else, do we simply write in VBA coding like dot refresh only, or there is something else for this? I know it's irrelevant right now, not
you
on the
refresh for what? Pivots?
anything like just we pull any raw data and we paste it into the raw or our pivot table, and then we refresh so that we can get the updated numbers. If we
That
want
we
to
have
make
to write a code. For pivots, we have to write a code, definitely. But otherwise, we will also learn something called events. So for example, let's say you want a code that runs by itself whenever you are changing a raw data.
and it should refresh itself
Yes. So when it's running itself, it's refreshing the entire thing, right? So it's going to
automatically.
pick. So that kind of thing, we do it under events.
Okay.
Okay.
Got
So we'll learn that.
And
Sure.
Ishani, sorry,
Hmm.
go ahead.
Go ahead. I'll take more time to say. So you say.
One more thing I want to ask about the buttons,
Mhm.
which we haven't done, I think so.
We will cover. Buttons are
Okay.
there. Form control comes at the very end.
Okay.
Okay. So over here, like say this work that I was doing, it was among multiple departments in one particular division. So it was like they had finance. I'm sharing my screen, right?
Yes, you are.
Yes,
Alright.
Ishani.
Yes.
So I had things like HSC, HC, finance department, EA, admin, and few more business units were there, IT, PE, RQ, and so on and so forth. So what they wanted me to do was 134 files were there. So they wanted me to work on a performance analysis of each and every business unit. So admin is a business unit, BNC is a business unit, right? But in order to do a performance analysis, the task was that I had to consolidate all the work books of the same BU into one worksheet, one on top of the other, very similar to what I gave to you. And once that was done, then get a unique list of tasks. Then with the unique list of tasks, identify what is the average time taken. Then identify the people who are doing above average. Then identify people who are doing below average. Okay. So this was the work.
Since the count of the worksheet is dynamic, how are we going to achieve in coding selecting?
So that's the beauty of coding, right? So we have to think. I took 6 hours to come up with this code, but at the end of the day, now if there are 134 files, or they put 200 files or 300 files, code runs, and it divides everything into business units.
You took 6 hours. It means if we will do them, we will take 6 days.
It might be, or you might come with the better solution also. You never know. Trust me, you never know. Yesterday I was stuck and Gunjan helped me out. So you never know who else or coding is unpredictable. So I'm just telling you, like, this is a very much important code that I think it was an interesting code, an important code, because now they are not dependent on any consultant to come and do a performance analysis. All they have to do is gather the survey report, they click on a button, and the analysis is ready within 15 minutes.
I would love to learn this specific code because I would use this ingenuity in my process, because it requires a lot of effort for one guy.
Right. So I have given you a part of it in the sense where I asked you to consolidate sheet on top of each other. So that's one component of this code. And the second component, which I'm going to send you today, is the from a folder, how do you read a file?
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
But I had to put an if function because in my case, BU units were differing. So inside, while reading the file, I was using a left function to pull the, the data till the underscore, and then saying if it's admin, put it in this sheet. If it's BNC, put it in this sheet, and so on and so forth. So in my case, there's a nested if also.
Okay.
All right. But these are very, things that really reduce your work. All right. Coming to very easy topic today, pivots. And very important. We all create pivots. We all need pivots. So how to automate pivots? A lot of time I get this question that since pivot is so easy in Excel, why should we learn to code it? Anybody has that thought? Nobody has that thought. Everybody is okay with the concept that I should learn it. Okay, even though you're not asking me, I'll tell the question to why you need to learn to code it. You need to learn to code this thing just because when we do end-to-end project, when we automate end-to-end project, we can't segregate our steps saying 1, 2, 3 is easy, do manually. 4, 5 takes time, I'll automate it for you. 5, 6 you do again manually. So when you take up a project and automate it, it has to be end-to-end automation from things like opening something, closing something, even adding a worksheet should be done through a code. So that's the reason we would focus on pivots. Now, there are certain terminologies, new terminologies that you will come across. The first one is a pivot cache. Then there is a pivot table. Then there is pivot caches, S tables. All these are collection objects. Then there are pivot fields. Then there are pivot items. So I will take you through what these mean and then we'll start the code. Again, I'm going to relate it to Excel. How would you do it in Excel and then convert it into code into VBA? So what is pivot caches? Pivot caches is basically collection object like the name suggests, and it refers to the data source. So if I picked up a data, I don't have a data. Hold on one second. I'll pick up some data. Okay, let's say this is the data we have. So this is the data we have. So what is pivot caches? When I say pivot cache, I mean a data source. Source of a data is called a pivot cache. So it can be, there can be multiple sources. That's why it's a collection object. And once you want to refer to one of the pivot cache, then we use pivot cache rather than caches. Then is a pivot table. What is a pivot table? Basically, when you click on insert and you click on a pivot table and the structure that gets created where you are dragging and dropping, this is called a pivot table. All right. Then comes pivot fields. Pivot fields are these fields, or the headers of your tables are called the pivot fields. So these are pivot fields and these are pivot items. Same terminology I had used when I was going through pivot tables with you guys. I don't know how many of you would recall that, but I use this word fields and items there also.
Yes.
So now we call them pivot fields and these are called pivot items. Right? So far, so good?
Yes, Shan.
Yes.
Yes.
Now the process of dropping, like if I have to drag and drop something in a pivot table, that this functionality is called orientation. And again, I have already given these, I've already put these notes in the LMS. I'll show you where to go about and read about pivot tables. So this is the table where we drag, and pivot fields are the fields or the headers or the columns, and items are the values under the headers. Okay, so let's say I wanted to create a pivot table from the source of data that I have. What is the very first step you take in Excel? What is the first thing we do?
Select the data.
Select the data.
select
Converting
the
into
data.
table.
Yeah.
Correct. We necessarily don't convert into table all the time, but we definitely have to select the data. So how do you select the data? Now, this data that you will select, is it that you will create only one pivot from it, or can you create multiple pivots from it?
Only one pivot.
Only one cube.
Multiple.
Multiple we can create.
You can create from one source of data, you can create multiples, right? I'm not saying at the same time, but ultimately you can.
Yeah, ultimately we can create.
Ultimately you can. So from one pivot, from source, I can make multiple pivots. So do you think it's a wise idea to store it in a
Yes.
variable?
Yes, it is.
So let's say PTC as pivot. It will become a singular pivot cache, not pivot caches, right? Then when you create a pivot table, since we are saying we are going to create multiple pivot tables, how would you say that I want to drop a field to this particular pivot table and not that one? So do you think it's much easier if we name our tables? Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Let's say let's say PT as a pivot table. So whenever I want to drop, I would refer to this PT. Okay. Next thing you said, first thing we should do is get this data. Get data, right? How do you get the data? So since PTC is a variable in which I'm going to save a object, pivot cache is an object. What is the keyword I should be using first?
Set.
Set. So I'll use set PTC equal to, and the way you have to write this code is active workbook dot pivot caches dot create, and when you leave space, sometimes it doesn't give anything. So it is what you have to give inside is type, the source type, the source data, and that's it. I don't work with the version. So what is the type and what is the source data? And actually these are the same two things that you will see in Excel also. So type is what? We are using Excel database. So we use Excel database, comma. Where is the source data? Source data is what? The data by which you're creating this pivot table. Where is it kept?
Data sheet.
Data sheet.
In the data sheet. And how do I pick the entire table from there?
By selecting the range.
And how do I select this range in VBA?
Current region.
Current region.
Current
Very
region.
good. Current region. From which cell? Range A1. So range A1 dot current region. That helps me to pick my range. Now this A1 is for which workbook? This A1 is of which workbook? You said A1 dot current region, right? Active workbook. Which is the active worksheet? Which is the active worksheet?
Data.
Data. Will it always be like that?
No, when we create.
Whatever the name of the worksheet.
Whatever is the name of the worksheet, we should activate it first, right? Ideally, we should activate it so that it's working on the right place. Okay, so now what we have done, we went over here. We kind of did this part. We gave the range and we told what type of data it is. Why is it coming so different? It's looking different, right? Is it me or insert pivot table? It has changed. Why it has changed? And nobody looks surprised other than me. Why I'm saying it's changed because it used to give us the ability to connect with other data sources, which I can't see anymore. Do you guys see anything different in this window, or is it same for you?
No, I see a different window altogether.
There is one more thing at the bottom, right? Before
Yes.
choose where, there is something else. Choose, what is it called? Choose source.
Choose
Choose
from
connection.
connection.
Choose connection.
Choose connection. So that choose connection, which I don't know, it's not here
Use
anymore.
an external data source.
Yes. So that is used when you want to use any other type of source, right? So that's why there were two things in our code. One is where is the source? So this is my source data. And that choose, that part that is there, that is the type that we defined. It is Excel data type. Second thing is what? You decide where you want to create the pivot. Is it going to be in the new worksheet or it's going to be an existing worksheet? So let's say I wanted it on a new worksheet. So how will I write it? How will I create this new worksheet? This
Add
is
a new
question.
worksheet.
Yes, how do you add the worksheets? What's the syntax?
Worksheet.add.
Worksheet.add.
Worksheets.add.
Worksheets.add.
Right. And as soon as we add a particular object, that becomes my active object automatically.
Yes.
Yes.
Right. Now I have to set my pivot table. So pivot table, the command would be active sheet, and which will be the active sheet? The one that I've
The new
added.
created, yeah.
Right. Pivot tables, and now dot add, and now you will see Excel is not prompting me anything, but what it requires is the source data, and second thing is ask is the destination. Where is the data and what's the destination? So these are the typical two things it will ask. So let's provide it. I'm leaving this line so that, even if it doesn't pop up, you know what the syntax is. So dot add. Now, where is the data stored?
In a new worksheet.
PTC.
No.
PTC.
PTC.
PTC. And where do we want to start? Where do you want to put this pivot table? Let's start from range A4. Why A4? Because if you are using filters, I would want few rows on the top to be free.
Shani, it should be worksheet.add or only add?
Only add as in?
In this active sheet dot pivot table dot add. So
Just add, no worksheets. See, we are adding a new sheet over here. This is the place I added a new sheet. And as soon as I added it, it became my active sheet. So what I'm doing, putting the command is on the active sheet, add this pivot table, and this is the source, and this is where I want to start it.
Okay.
Okay, so when I run this thing, F5, this is what it has done for me. All right, new sheet got added, pivot table got inserted, it's linked to my table. Clear to everyone?
Yes.
Yes.
Very simple so far, right? Now,
But
what is it?
Ishani,
Yes.
Ishani, when you created the pivot, although you manually click the pivot in order to show the pivot table wizard in the left, in the right, sorry. But how would
No,
you
no,
do
no,
that?
it was outside. It was outside. I just clicked on the pivot table.
Would we be adding a code to go into the pivot table field?
You don't. Why do you have to
Okay.
go to the field to create a pivot? I could be here and I can create a pivot, right? Oh, in Excel I can't, but over in VB I can.
Okay.
Okay, over here I need all these what do you call panels to work. In VB I don't.
Okay, got it.
All right. Now the next step is to drag and drop. So let's create a question, quick question. Let's say I want to find region-wise sales. Okay. So what will I drop where? Help me out. So where are we dropping?
Regions in column?
Region.
No, first, where are we dropping? In which object are we going to drop?
Pivot table.
PT,
Column.
right? PT.
Yeah, PT.
PT in this case. What are we dropping? A field. So it becomes pivot fields. And which field? Because there are multiple columns, right? So you have to tell which field. So which field do you want to drop? Region. And way to drop is orientation equal to, now there are 4 places where you can drop, right? Row, column, value, and the filter. So how do we write it? If I want to drop it in the row, we will write it as Excel row field. And what are the other things? Excel column field. One second. And before I also forget, Excel page field is for the filters, and Excel data field is for the value part. Yes, please tell me.
Can't we create a variable for this header also, regions, sales? Because if
How
we
many?
are creating a multiple table, if we are creating a multiple pivot table, that will be taking a lot of time to write this region and sales in multiple fields. Instead of that, we can type a single time a variable. We create a variable for that, and that will be easier.
No, but how can you create one variable with all the field names?
No, we have to create multiple. I'm not saying that we have to create. Instead of
Oh,
typing,
are you saying pivot fields region?
yeah,
This I create as a variable.
yeah.
Okay. All right, you can do that way. I typically don't have an habit of doing that. So what Tarun is suggesting is, he's saying, why not do something like whatever are the columns that you will be working with, let's say pivot field and region as pivot field. Declare this also. And so that I don't have to write this again and again, all I have to do is write pf underscore, let's say reg, and this would work. Right, Tarun?
Yes, Shani.
Okay. Yeah, you can do this way also. F5, if I run, I did something wrong. Dot.
Assignment is not there. You have not assigned anything.
Oh, I have not assigned anything. Thank you, Pratibha. Set pf underscore reg equal to pivot fields. PT. Even if I don't even have to write PT, then region I can simply say this only. Because if I define the PT also on the top, I don't think so I have to do anything. Can I do it? Hold on. No, I can't do it over here because I have not defined PT. Cut after this. So F5. Now it has done the work. All right. So either way, whichever you are more comfortable with, adopt that. So this is how you drag and drop. Any questions so far? No?
No, Ishan.
No. Now let me continue with this. What I've dropped only the region. Now if I wanted to also drop the sales, then pt.pivot fields and write sales dot orientation. And what should I write after orientation equal to? Where should I drop? Row, column, field, page, or data?
Values.
Data field.
So data field. So Excel data field. That's our value part. Right? Now what I'm going to get, I will get by default, like how we know in pivot. If I drop a field which has numbers, it gives me sum of it. If I drop a text, it gives me a count. But what if I want to change? I don't only want sales of total sales, I want average sales also. Then how will I do it? So what do you do in Excel?
We have
If I
to
say
do
I want
function
region once,
dot average Excel.
repeat that, Naveen.
So after equal to, we can write worksheet function dot average, and inside the bracket we can say Excel data field.
No. Worksheet function won't work over here. How do you do it in pivot? You right click and you change the summarize by, right?
We right click on that and
Yeah, you change the sale, you change the function, but you need to drop sales 2 times, right? If I say I want total sales and average sales,
Yes.
so I'll drop sales twice. Like I'll drop it, I'll run it F5. Now when you drop one thing multiple times, I don't know how many times you've noticed, but it comes as sum of sales, and the second one comes sum of sales 2. And if you drop it again, it will become
Will
sum of
come
sales 3
3.
and so
Yeah.
so forth. So the name is always going to be the function it applied, or and then followed by the field, and then the no number, and then 2, 3, 4, and 5. So if I want to change the name or the function, I go to a specific column and change it, correct?
Yeah.
So how will I do it? It will be pt.pivot fields. Guys, can I request you to mute? My throat is still not as good as I would want. So if there's a background noise, the tendency is to increase the volume a lot. Dot function, because what you're doing is changing the function, and let's say Excel average.
So it would be sum of sales too.
Sum of sums. The concentration is also poor when there's background noise. Sum of sales 2 dot function equal to Excel average. Pratibha, you are my savior today, it seems. Yesterday Gunjan saved me. Today you are saving me. Okay, so that's how you change your functions. And once you change your functions, now let's say what I want to do, the name will become what? It will become average of sales 2. I'll run it again. Notice what it has done, sum of sales and average of sales 2. Now I want to change my captions also, the headings. So how can I change the caption? I'll have to rewrite this part, and sum of sales dot caption equal to total sales, and same thing. And instead of sum of sales, this is going to become average of sales 2, caption is equal to average sales. So this is how you change the caption. All right. Is it clear?
Yes. Yes.
Any questions from anyone? Let's try. Let's implement this. Yes. You remember I had sent a sheet to you in which you worked on report 1 and report 3.
Yeah.
Remember that workbook?
Yeah.
Kindly open that, and we are going to now work on its report 5. So it's called VBA class exercise 1_version 2 April something. So we will work on report 5, where it says create yearly product wise sales summary. In the summary, show the total sales, number of sales, and maximum sales of each product. So I still haven't taught you how to work with the dates. So leave the first part, but create a summary for me using the raw data, which shows me product wise total sales, number of sales, and maximum sales. I want the second part to be done now, and you will need my codes for it.
Shani, can you please tell this file where this file is? Their file.
This file should be in the LMS. 1 second.
Shani, can you paste this code in the LMS as well, like you did yesterday?
Yes, that you can copy, right?
Yeah.
Yes, but yeah, but make sure you make the
changes.
required changes.
Yeah. Thank you.
So where is that file? Let me find out that first.
It's object assignment report.
Assessment, assignment, object assignment report. Yes, this one. All right. And what I'm going to do today, this code that I've written, I'll put it in today's where I put the class files, I put it over there.
నీ సైకిల్ తడిసిపోతుంటుందా
Neil, could you mute, please?
Sorry, Shani.
Yeah, thank you. All right. The code I've put in the class file 13 January 2022. For those who are not going to refer to that, you can look at my screen also and tell me when to scroll down or scroll up.
Report 5 we need to do, right?
Correct. Report 5.
Ishani, how to find the column header? For example, if I need to debug the column header.
How to do what?
How to find the column heading file in the runtime?
How to find
Can
the
I assign
column
it
header?
a variable like there was a column sum of sale and then it becomes sum of sales too when dropped twice.
Right, right.
So is there any way to write a code or to assign a variable of that particular string?
I'm not clear with the question, Gunjan. Sorry, I'm very slow today.
No worries. For example, while changing the caption of a particular heading on the column side, we have to specify the pivot table, then the pivot field. Under that, the string of the heading we want to change the caption of. Can we replace that whole string which we are manually typing it to
With
a
the
variable,
variable.
which automatically picks up the whatever the value is on the cell, it assigned to that variable and automatically changes the caption whenever run on the next call?
I don't know.
For example, if I change the variable to total sales, next time I have to show that the variable, the string which is used on the header is called total sales. If I use again on the later on the code sum of sales, there would be a error on that, right?
Correct.
Is there
You're
any way
absolutely
to assign
correct.
a variable which dynamically allot the string value to that thing and we keep calling that variable only rather than manually typing the string name?
I understood, but I'm not able to think. You work. I'll think. You work. Let me think. So while you are working, I'm going to be away from my table for 2 minutes.
Sure, Shani.
All right, I'm back if anybody has a question. And meantime, let me think about what Gunjan is asking. So Gunjan, let me ask you this thing. What would be the purpose of storing it in the variable?
So that if, yes, just to rename or to do multiple operation with that particular variable.
But I was just thinking, but even if you have to do multiple operations, you'll have to remember the variable name also, right? What is the name of the variable?
We can just define it later. No? For example, if we keep changing, keep doing operation on that variable, whatever the name.
Oh, you are
will be
saying
on.
for example, it was sum of sales, then it became average of
Yes.
sales too, then it become total sales. So in that
Right.
variable name only it keeps on changing. So
The
I don't
header
have to
keeps on
change
changing.
anything.
Yes, right.
Got it. Now I understood. Okay. I'm again in my thinking pod now, thinking again. Okay, one more thing, Gunjan, but no, it is. Forget it.
Won't assigning that pt dot, just like you assigned the pf underscore reg as a private field, that itself will be called as a header of that particular column.
So header is a string, right? So if I'm saying pf.reg, now
Dot
if
caption is this, and again I call that pf.reg dot caption is this, won't it change twice
see, it's
automatically?
not a field we are creating. When you
Okay.
are dropping these fields and it's creating column, we are not creating fields. So you can store it as a string. It's not an object you're storing.
Right.
Ishani, that part is done just now. Yearly, it's taking all the days. So
And don't take yearly right now. I have not taught you. I'm not expecting that.
Okay, so then done. It's taking all the year.
No. Date I don't want. Date I don't want right now. Everyone else, are we done? Others, is it the code running? Pivot table has been created, 3 columns, captions changed.
Yeah, can I show if this is what you needed?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Without the I need it on product level. So a product has to be there, not the date.
Okay,
Where you
product.
brought date, it has to be product.
Okay,
Yes.
then it's fine. Okay.
Yeah.
Because written yearly product. So I thought year and then total sales account.
Yeah, product is there and then year will also come, but first is product. Product wise.
It will be just
Yeah, just change the date part into product. What about others? Are we done? Or if not done, tell me how can I help you? Now this you can't say it's a challenging code at all. Pivot tables you create all day in and day out.
Done.
Yeah, I was doing yearly first, so
not yearly. Don't touch the yearly part. I have not taught you how to work with the dates yet.
Okay.
Ishani, I tried to modify your code and getting errors.
Okay, go to share. Yes.
So this is the error I get. I think
Pivot table field not valid. Okay.
The same error.
Click on debug. Click on debug. Is your data starting from A3?
Yes.
And you're only working with one workbook. So raw data.activate, set PTC, report 5.activate. Oh, okay, that's also fine. You did it correctly. PTC range A5. All right, range A3. Okay, no worries. You're going to hate me when I tell you this. Just reset your program once by clicking on that square button right below run. Yeah. Just close this file and open this file once again.
Okay.
You know, especially with pivots, I've seen the files getting corrupted very soon. So that sometimes can be a reason why it did not run. Okay, go back to your program once again. Okay, try to run it. Still the same problem. If you're changing the name of the pivot, you must type pivot tables, add PTC, set PVT average workbook, create source. Go back to your, reset this and go to your Excel file. Something wrong in the Excel file. Raw data.
I am also getting the same error.
Go to your Excel file once. I'll tell you what the error is. You see there's a sunset in I2.
Oh, I mentioned
Delete
that.
it. Delete it. And move towards the left. Is there anything sticking in column K? No. Now try to rerun your program.
But anyways, I'm selecting from A3. So
you are selecting from A3, but your first row is A2 and it's looking for headers over there, which is blank. It can't read, it can't create anything. In fact, you have joined everything. It's taking from A1, not even. Now run it. See? Because of that sunset, everything on the top was getting connected. So your first row was taken as the first row over there. From A1 it was taking, and then it looks for, see, pivot cannot be created if any of the cell of the headers is missing. Even in Excel, it will give you problem. You delete any of the headers and try to create pivot in Excel. It will not work. You had sunset in E2.
But
Yeah.
what I did, I mean, if we are doing this in Excel, you know,
Just
sunset is mentioning here. So
okay.
when we
Now
are selecting it, it will go like
no,
this.
no. But you are not selecting it that way, right? You are using the property of current region. So you press
Okay.
Control A.
Control A.
Control A did what? It selected everything because they are all connected now.
Okay.
Right.
But
So it's
why,
reading.
But why this is not affecting this?
This
code? I
is
mean,
try to create a pivot table. Do Control A. Try to create a pivot table. Control A. Now insert pivot. It's taking A to A. Okay, I think you selected the sheet. Can you just cancel it once? Select A3.
A3.
And press Control A.
Control A.
Right. Now, initially you were selected a sheet. Now create pivot.
Oh. No.
Again, you see A1 to A2, 1, 2 is what it's able to read. It's not able to read properly.
Yeah.
Right? It won't create a pivot for you properly. So that's the reason.
But just trying to
And do
understand
one more thing. Delete this BJP. Sorry, BJP.
Sorry.
I like BJP. Just delete one of the headers. Any one header in between or anywhere. Any one header deleted.
You mean the row?
Header, not the row. Only one of the header. Like say E3.
Okay.
E3. Remove E3. Okay. Now create a pivot table. Control A.
Control A.
Insert pivot. Click OK.
Okay.
It's running.
I think it's a table. That's why. But other
no,
than
if the missing headers are there, typically pivot throws error.
yeah, I know
It
that.
doesn't get created. With every time Excel improves, I am in trouble because I challenge people do this. This will not happen, and it happens. Like today, it should not work.
Yeah, that
if
error even I encounter sometime.
Yeah, it typically throws an error if the header is missing because what will it use as a pivot field? But now it worked. So anyways, you understood what the issue was, right? Since it was not able to pick the exact table, that's why it was not able to create it.
Okay. Okay, so that considering this as a header and for other is missing, that's why.
No, it was actually considering only A1 cell had the header and B1, C1, D1. It was actually starting from your row 1, not even row 2. Row 1 was considered.
Okay.
Why? Because see, anytime you use Control A, the mechanism is even if one cell is filled in the next row or the next column, it connects it. So one cell was fixed in column I, you had put something in column I, and then you had in A1. So it brought it up all the way to the row 1.
Okay. Okay.
All
Yeah,
right.
that makes sense. Yeah.
All right. What about others?
I'm able to do it now.
Done? Okay.
Yes.
Anyone who's facing issues? So
Shani,
first code that you were able to do, how do you feel?
It's wonderful. In fact, it simply happened. Maybe you have written it's just you have written the code and we have just made few changes in it.
No,
So it was easy.
It was easy. Yes, Arshad, I can see the screen.
I just modify the code and running.
And is it giving an error?
No, it's giving this table.
This is correct. Total sales, average sales, and I wanted count of sales. So that's it. You have to add sales one more time and you just have to change the function to count and just change the caption. Everything is fine. Great.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Tarun, were you able to do it? Abhishek, Sunil. I see a new name in this list, Avinash. Are you a new joinee?
Yes, Shani.
All right. How are you able to cope up?
Yes, I'm trying to.
All the best. It's going to be tough. Ask me questions, please. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Ishani, for the count of sale, I put product
Yes, anything.
value as
You
a
can put
value.
anything. You can
Yeah.
put anything. Manoj, all good? Vivek, Neil, Naveen, Imran, Lalit. What's the
While
status?
running this code, something has happened. I mean, I lost my entire data. I don't know what happened.
The
I'm
data
not
is
even-
lost or the code is lost?
Not code. I mean, this file is also lost. This, the macro file which I was creating all the way, saving. So my my OneDrive is
Hard work
also
gone.
not working now.
Okay, sorry.
I don't know what happened.
All right, tell me if you have questions. So tomorrow what we will do
Hello.
is, yes, Ashish.
Yeah, Ishani, I still have one question. So while I was running the code, I
Hmm.
was also getting the same error. I think Kshitij or who was getting the same error.
Kshitij, huh?
Yeah, the same one. I was also getting stuck at the same position.
So same thing, you have to ensure, when you are using this in your main files that were there, and when you are in the raw data, ensure that the tables are not touching any values. Like nothing should be touching this table, because we
Okay.
are using current region to pick our tables. So if anything is over here, written over here, then when you do Control A, it picks everything on the top, right? All the rows are picked. And then it's searching. It typically Excel, when it picks a table, it kind of assumes that the first row will have the headers. And a lot of places when it does not have headers, it's going to throw error at us.
Understood.
Shani, I'm still getting the error.
Which error? Can you show your screen?
Yes, just a minute. I'm joining with the other computer on which
All
I
right.
am working.
Okay,
Give
let
me
me
a
know.
minute. Okay.
So tomorrow what we will be working with, we'll continue with pivots. We'll work with grouping. Remember there was grouping in pivots? And we had show value as, and we had calculated field. So how do we imitate that thing in VBA? So these three things will be finishing up in pivots using the same table.
Ishani, in this pivot table,
Yeah.
caption row label can be changed.
1 second. All right, Lalit, it's fine. It's just you just try to work with the caption part also. Other than that, it looks fine. And in your case, you guys had to add it in report 5, not a new worksheet. So you got to change that part of your code as well. How will you put it in report 5? Sanjeet, the thing that you're asking is
Can I share screen?
yes. I think Sanjeet that you're asking is row label on the
extreme
left side, on the extreme left. I don't know how to change that, to be honest.
Okay.
Okay, I'll have to search. So 2 things I still have to work on.
Ishani, it's showing subscript out of range, runtime error 9.
There's some value error, some, what do you say, spelling mistake.
Okay.
Check for it, then I can also read through the code.
It is Ishani.
Raw data, you've given
Yes,
space
space.
in front of raw. So there's no space in front of raw. That's why it's getting stuck there. Space is a character. So reset it and run it again.
But the most important item here will be this.
Unable to get the pivot table property caption equal to count. It's if you have changed the function to Excel count for sum of sales 2, now it has become count of sales 2. Count of sales 2, and the next one has become max of sales 3. So in the bracket where you have sum of sales 2, it is not sum of sales. Let sales of 2 be there. Just convert sum to count.
Okay.
The difference between these two tasks is the first is to get the Excel
and the next sum converted into max.
attachment downloaded from SAP source.
Space. Yes. Now reset and run it again.
Again, this is the display name of this particular task description. If I go
Debug.
No.
Active sheet pivot tables dot add etc A4.
There's
Okay.
a question over there, so I think that's why we need to leave few lines up, so it should start
Yeah.
coming.
Just reset again and go to Excel workbook again. Excel
Again,
sheet.
code 5. Okay.
That should be.
Code 5 is fine. Let's go to the raw data. Let's go to the raw data. It worked.
It's working. Why it's showing error here?
I don't think so. I read the error correctly. I'll tell you why it showed the error. Run it again. I'll read the error to myself and you and explain you what happened.
I think
Run
first,
it again.
first you need to delete that.
Yes.
Okay. So it's
Because
has
you
already
can't
been
overwrite
created.
on
That's why
a,
it's showing error.
yeah, you can't overwrite on a pivot table again and again.
Okay. Thank
Okay,
you.
so this also we'll talk about tomorrow. I've not taught you how to delete it.
Right.
Do you know how to delete it?
No.
You can't clear content of a pivot, I think. You need to delete a pivot.
Yes.
Right? So same thing, do one thing. Let me share my screen.
Yes.
So for example, like I am doing it on a new sheet again and again, right? But in your case, you will have to check wherever the pivot is getting created. Wherever the pivot is getting created from there, let's say F5. So wherever the pivot is getting created, like A5. So you will have to inculcate this line over here, that something that we did in one of the, I think, report 3, that if range A5 is not empty, is equal to this, right? Is if it's not equal to blank, right? Then range A5 dot current region to pick up the entire table dot delete and end it. Put this code when you, as soon as you activate report 5, put this code so that the previous table, if it's there, it gets removed and the new table gets created.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Anything else?
No.
That's it. Okay, so tomorrow agenda is to finish off pivots by finishing how to work with grouping, show value as in calculated field, 2 questions ballpark for my side, how to change that row label in pivot table, and how to work with the name of the headers. With their changing names, it gets assigned to one single variable so that we don't have to think again and again that what it has become. So 2 things I will deal with it tomorrow. All right. Okay, then I'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you, Shani.
Okay, Shani. Thank you, Shani.
Bye.
I'll
Thank
save
you,
this
Shani.
file also in the LMS, even though this code is there, but still I'll save this file.
Sure, Shani.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Take
Shani.
care.
Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much. Bye.
Thank you.
And I'll also upload that other code that I was talking to you about of collating the the files into one workbook.
Yes.
So if whenever you get a chance, please go through it.
Thank you so
All
much.
right.
Shani.
Sure,
Thank you.
Shani.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Bye-bye.